Today's guest, Mike Lyon, co-founder of Pedestal Footwear. So, Mike, we'll turn it over to you. Give a little background on yourself, please.
Well, anyway, thanks, Dennis and Neil. Appreciate you having me on. It's been a while. Obviously, first connected back at the Barefoot Training Summit. I think it was 2015 now, I believe.
Yeah, it was about 16. I think it's 16. So it's been a while. We've been knowing each other for quite a while. Yeah.
Well, COVID year just is
that gets wiped out. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
So anyway, my name is Mike Lyon, co-founder of Pedestal Footwear. We're really on a mission to get people out of traditional shoes and into pedestals for their indoor workout sessions. And obviously, we're all American made. Me and my business partner, Brendan McKee. We're here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I guess been at it now for about 5.5, 6 years. I mean, interested, excited for this conversation, see where it goes, talk about foot fetishes and all sorts of weird foot stuff or whatever people are into, but also just, business and functional anatomy, whatever we want to sort of nerd out about, I'm all for. So I'm excited for it. And then obviously if anybody wants to, talk with me or separately or email me, I'm sure we'll share with that, after.
Definitely.
Call. Yeah.
So how long have you been training or been in the industry, so to speak?
Probably about 8 years now. I graduated from college and my first job out of college was actually at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I was like, I was washing cars rather, in my dad's suit, like first day on the job. I remember just being soaked and like miserable. And I was like, God, people do this every day. I was like, it was white shirt, tie, every day. Doesn't matter. It could be 90 degrees out. You're wearing your sport coat, right? Mm-hmm. And I just was like, this is, whatever, I'll just stick it out. That's the corporate grind. This is what people do, right? I remember it was like shave every day too. Like, so you have to shave every morning and and so they wanted to clean shave. And so I remember I used to shave at night to kind of like save myself time in the morning because I had to like reverse commute. And I'll never forget this. And this is like hand to God. I came in one day and the guy takes his fingers and like puts them on my face and says to me, "Did you shave this morning?" And I was like, all right, this is enough of this. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. That's for damn sure. So I was like, I'm out of here. I got to figure it out. Right. So I like quit that job. And the guy was like begging me to come back because I was doing pretty well, but I was just like, I remember I have a pretty good driving record. And I remember I smashed the car up because it was just like all things were just like coming to a head. So I left there and I actually got a job selling memberships at Equinox. And I really enjoyed, the fitness space. I enjoyed working out myself and I did that for about 1.5 years. And I really enjoyed the job. Great team. Only thing is I just, like a lot of people, I think I missed the sense of fulfillment. You know what I mean? I was helping people, live healthier lives, make the right choice for their life and, helping them move, feel better or lose weight or whatever their fitness goal is. But I just like this sense of fulfillment I never really had there. You know what I mean? And so I like saved up some money, quit my job there. And I was just living in San Diego with 3 girls, having the time of my life, learning how to surf, just living cheap. You know what I mean? It's amazing. It's amazing how far the dollar goes when you're single. You got you know what I mean? It's like, it's amazing how, you can travel on a Tuesday afternoon. You're not subject to a schedule. So I lived in San Diego in Pacific Beach to be specific. To back up a little bit, when I was in high school, I had a very bad back injury. My L5 shot out 1/4 inch and I could barely walk for about 7 months. Like, I remember that Halloween vividly. Like, my friend, just as a joke, we wanted to be like Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber because I had like a cane. So we dressed up as like in the suits because I was like hobbling. You know what I mean? This is like 17 years old. And I remember telling my dad, "Hey, I want to get back surgery." And he was like, "You're 17, man. Figure it out. You're not getting back surgery. There's got to be another option." Which at the time I was pissed, but now I'm thankful for because, there's through, obviously other things we'll get into later, but I'm able to move and feel better now and feel fine. Right. But so I went and saw this specialist. His name was Aaron Mattis. And he's in Florida and he does active isolated stretching. It was like with a rope. And my mom actually had MS at the time and was seeing him for a specialist. So I was like, go see him, see what he can do. And everything we did from day one was barefoot. It was like, take your shoes off. I had never heard of that. High school kid, on the world, I didn't know anything, just like any high school kid. I know nothing about the world, right?
Mhm.
So he taught me a lot about barefoot training and just stretching and active isolation, all this different things. And I would, like a dog, I would do those like things that he told me to do every day. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't one day where I didn't do, he gave me this whole book of exercises and whatever else. And so I started doing those exercises. And my brother at the time was also doing like strongman. So he'd always be in like socks deadlifting, or he would like pull the school bus. He was like all sorts of into like older brother into like this strongman stuff. So the only way I worked out was really just in socks, like going around in high school and then even through college. And then now fast forward to sort of come full circle is when I was at Equinox, people would again be with their trainer, nice gym, nice place, and they would take their shoes off and do movement. And so it kind of like dawned on me. I was like, okay, so people are doing it here. I was like, then I quit the job, moved to San Diego. And what do you know, walk into the gym first day, boom, somebody walking around doing whether it's yoga or mobility work in socks. From there, I thought I was going to be there for a while. And my buddy actually was working for a company in Budapest, Hungary. And I was like, he's like, dude, come live on my couch. It's just like, see Europe, have a good time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, all right, I guess I can try to make that work. And so lived on his couch, walk into, again, the gym. Like I signed up, third day I was there. And again, same thing. I see people, I'm like, okay, so clearly this isn't just like a Boston thing. It's not just like a California thing or a US thing. Now we're in like, I hate to say it because I hate to be called Eastern Europe, and people are doing it. So I'm like, okay, so I came at it and sort of started to like dawn on me, like, okay, how do I create a product that's like just for the training environment? And it's really just think of a yoga sock on like steroids, basically. And it performs at a much higher level. It's American made because, I come from a military background, but I also feel like, there's no reason why we can't make this in the USA, right? So I really wanted to sort of do it in the USA. So I started researching materials, and I'm sure you guys share a lot of the same stories of finding manufacturers. And I met my business partner, Brendan, actually at Equinox when I was there through my cousin. They were like friends, and he has experience in the retail space. And he also was helping this local nonprofit called Inner City Weightlifting, which I don't know if you've heard of them, but they take like inner city youth and they like that are high risk for violence, gang violence. Where they had an ESPN video come out a few years back now, and he was volunteering there and helping out. And they basically give these kids an option besides, being on the streets. They give them a job as a trainer. They teach them certification so they can start training people. They have like corporate wellness programs, really cool program. And Brendan was involved with that. So I sort of circled back with him about that because I saw him that he was involved with it. And then next thing led to another, we are where we are now. But I will say that just the experience of just not just thinking locally, but having the travel experience also enlightened me to like, wow, I'm seeing people doing this in other parts of the world that, sometimes you can think that this is just something you believe in, but with so many millions of people in this world, somebody else has the same sort of idea or concept or way of living and thinking.
So for somebody that doesn't know what the pedestal footwear is, can you describe that a little bit more in depth?
Yeah. So it's basically, pedestals are basically how we position it is like we're a high performance training sock. And we have a specialized patented grip pattern on the bottom. So, it helps people move. Typically when you see a grip sock, you think cheap grip sock, whatever I can spend. But this has patented design. So it actually helps you move in all three planes of movement with a triangular grip pattern. There's more grip under the big toe, which we know is where you get your power from. So a lot of these other companies don't know that. But also there's a special yarn in the toe and heel for added durability. So whether you're training on turf, hardwood, regular gym flooring. We know every gym has different flooring, or most of them are, some are the same, but, it varies from gym to gym. And then there's also an antimicrobial silver lining in it. So you can wear it for multiple workouts. You can toss it in your gym bag if you're traveling, great option for get your barefoot workout in when you're traveling. And then obviously American made, and there is some compression in it as well to keep it snug to the foot. And we come packaged really nice. Our slogan is ditch your shoes. And we sort of have a nice stand-up pouch that it comes in, and people can sort of, rip it open and have at it. We also, too, provide, and I didn't mention this, we provide programming with every order that goes over basic foot and ankle issues, or conditions, rather. So your flat foot, high arches, pronation, supination, eversion, all of those things, we sort of try to get the individual to think, how do I fix this problem through exercise, not through the Band-Aid approach of orthotics, right? So we
Very
really
nice.
want people to start to think about their long-term foot health. Again, I understand people aren't going to the beach and saying, hey, flexing my feet and saying, hey, check out how sexy my feet are, right? But, for people that understand movement like us, we know that it's basically like a tire on a car. It's the only part that touches the ground. And once you have a flat tire, just like a flat foot, you know what happens from there. So, yeah, so basically it's a really high performance grip sock made in the USA. And, we specialize in the training environment.
Yeah, because I know one of the things is people that are kind of adverse to being barefoot in any type of facility. I think that's the sock primarily gets them to at least get out of the regular confining shoes. But traditional socks, especially on some surfaces, you do nothing but slide. So that's a huge advantage. You actually have some grip. You can interact with the surface.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if somebody wants to wear it to work out at home, or they want to give it to their grandmother for her to not slip at home, I mean, we're all for it. And speaking of grandmothers, I mean, if you think about your grandmother or grandfather's foot at 85 years old compared to when they were 25 years old, and the hammer toes, the bunions, being in gyms, you see people's feet in the locker room all the time. And you're like, what the heck? What is that? What's wrong with that guy's foot? And it's like, there's only one reason. And we can all know how that happens. I mean, 60 years of wearing confining shoes, what's it going to do to your feet? Right. So think about just think about anybody, how their feet have changed over the 40, 50 years, right? It's like what the shoes are doing to you. But, and again, the biggest objection we get in the gym environment, the training environment is, what if I drop a weight on my foot? But I mean, if you drop a weight on your Nikes, Air, whatever you're wearing, you're screwed, right? It might hold the blood a little bit better, you know what I mean? But I think proprioceptively, right, you're a little bit more aware of your space when you're barefoot anyway. So you're probably less likely to drop a weight in your foot, right? You're a little bit more like, not fragile, but like you're going to pay attention and focus. You know what I mean? It's not like talk to your buddy and, screw around while you work out.
Yeah, you're much more mindful. And I think that's what's interesting is when people say that. Well, what if you do this? Well, when you have that stuff on, you are much more engaged in what you're doing. And so that is something that I think just automatically happens.
Yeah, I remember posting a video a long time ago in the climbing gym. I was barefoot doing deadlifts. And someone, commented like, "Oh, you're gonna hurt your feet." I'm like, I'm gonna hurt my feet if I have Chucks on. If that thing drops on there,
right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's. But people don't know what they don't know. You know what I mean? And it's our job to educate them, right? That's why I love doing what I do, because people. I mean, and I'm sure the same with you. I mean, back to my story about being fulfilled. I mean, nothing's more fulfilling to me as a person when somebody says, "Holy shit!" Like, I really feel it in my hamstrings. I'm moving so much better. Like my posture is so much better. Or like I sent this to my son in Afghanistan because he's like wants to train. You know what I mean? You get all these messages and things from customers and people that, I really love your content. And that's, to me, is what's fulfilling. So I know once we get people in the product and get them out of what they've been training in, it's going to be a different experience and different feeling. Like you said, like, feelings are huge, and, just for your brain, like we were talking previously about, you might buy this $400 pair of shoes, you put them on your feet and you're like, this doesn't feel right. Right. How crazy is that? Imagine buying a sports car and like, you're like, wow, this thing is beautiful. A Lambo, you get in a Lambo and the engine's like a four banger. You're like, what the fuck's wrong with this thing? Right. So I think it's, it's the same thing. You can pay for whatever you want, but at the same time, it's really about feeling, right? Like what feels right, and I think that's sort of, we know that it's going to, once you start moving in this product and get used to it. Now, of course, you're not going to go log 18 miles on a run with these, right? And that's, I think, to get into another subject, that's where some companies, the Five Finger Company got in trouble, as they said, these are better for you automatically. Like just go from whatever you're in and right into these and you'll be perfect. And it's like, well, there is a adaptation period. There is a learning period. It's not just you go 0 to 60, right? You got to, crawl before you sprint. So, people ask me all the time, like, hey, can I run on a treadmill? And as I said, you can eventually, but definitely don't start doing that. You know what I mean? Like definitely weed off whatever you're using now, wean off of it, and then, start slowly. Right. So I think that's sort of, people are in such a rush to just take one step back and take 2 steps forward. Right.
Is that something that you try to include in like the packaging so that, when people get them, they're going to go gung ho on it right away because they're excited. But do you have it on there where it says, hey, just ease into this, start walking in them for a day, or start doing some light training?
That's a good question, Neil. I think inherently, like once you receive the product, like it's the material is so different that like just feeling it, you're probably not going to be so comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? So you're already thinking about that. You know what I mean? Like it's not a shoe in that regard. I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like if you were wearing like a regular sneaker, you might just still push it. But when you put this on and you can actually feel the floor and you can actually feel what's around you. Your running posture and your gait might be better. You know what I mean? Or like you might be landing properly, right? But I think you're more apt to go slow anyway. You know what I mean? I just don't. And so to answer your question, no, we don't put anything like that in there. But I think it's people inherently will slow down. You know what I mean? I mean, people will ask ahead of time, hey, can I run on treadmill? Yes, but I think they don't really know until they have the product in their hands. Like, yeah, I should probably go slow,
The durability of your product is fantastic. I mean, I've got some clients that use them and they've had pairs for a couple of years, actually. Yeah. Even with the constant washing. So the product has held up extremely well.
I was having this conversation with Brendan the other day. I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because it's like, if I have people that, they've only had one pair for 5 years. And it's like, that's great that it's so durable, but it's kind of like, I want you to order again. You know what I mean? Like, I hope they're like, I hope you wear them out. But yeah, no, I mean, that's why we come up with new designs, new colors, new options, and, stay relevant and keep people interested and entertained, right? That's part of the game is like the durability, but also, just the fact that, you have a great customer service experience too, right? If there's an issue, if there's, people ask, what size should I go? Hey, listen, this is what we suggest. If it doesn't fit or doesn't work, where to get us and we'll make it right. You know what I mean? And I think that comes with the price point too, right? I mean, people are used to buying socks in a pack of 10, for $4.99. And it's like, our price point's higher, but that, much higher, but that comes with, you're getting a better product, you're getting a better service, you're getting American made product as well. So, and there's a cost to that, right? So I think that's sort of, where we stand now.
Well, I think from a product standpoint too, we've just gotten so accustomed to, really what you would consider inferior product longevity than what our parents or grandparents grew up with. So when you do come across a product that does have durability and longevity, I think in some regards you get a much more loyal fan base.
I had the same golf irons for 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. Never a problem. I was like, you know what? Let me splurge this summer. I'll get some new irons, right? And I got fitted, was so happy to get, stuff that fit me correctly. I hadn't got fitted since I was probably $160 soaking wet. Now I'm like 220, you know what I mean? So clearly there's some difference in swing speed, whatever. And for the second round, second week of playing up, the club head just snaps off after hitting a ball. So it's like, here are my irons that I had for 15 years. So whatever they were doing back then, you know what I mean? Whether it was less economical, more polluting, or whatever their company mission has been since then, you know what I mean? It's clearly changed the manufacturing process to the point where, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to like jump to conclusions and say it's an inferior product because it feels good and I swing it well. But like, is there some difference in the quality, and are you sacrificing it for these other reasons? The club head snaps off after like the second week of work. Like, how does that happen after I had clubs for 15 years, never had an issue, right? So back to your point of like quality from previous generations versus now.
Yeah, it's like the old school toys.
Yeah, the old school toys lasted forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You pass them down from generation to generation.
Even old cars. I mean, you could talk about problems with cars or laundry machines. Now they're going to these eco-friendly. The thing doesn't even dry my clothes. You know what I mean? But you have to, as a company mission, do you want to be, safe for the environment? Do you want to be economical or eco-friendly or whatever it is? You have some sort of, other mission that you're supporting, which is great. I mean, all for that. But some companies are really going towards a more, eco-friendly, material or, which is awesome. All for that. It just, we don't want to sacrifice the customer experience. And, if they've been buying for you for so long, all of a sudden they get a product that's like inferior. They're like, well, what's going on here?
So from a marketing standpoint, what have you found success or with, and what have you had misses as far as missteps?
Email, and obviously just watering your current customers. You know what I mean? One in the hand's worth two in the bush. So I think just continuing to make sure that our customers are happy, hitting them with some creative, fun content, but also asking them for their feedback on future products or what they'd like to see or what they want to do or what they would like us to do, right? So from a marketing perspective, I mean, that email marketing, I mean, that is a marketing in itself, and it's the easiest in regards of, pushing a button and sending it to people, but it's the hardest in the fact of you want to make sure you're relevant and people are opening your email and enjoying the content you're providing them, right? It's not just like sale, here's a new, I get an email from like Walmart or Best Buy every day. Shop this 50% off. It's like, okay, at what point does that get old, right? So I think, just making sure that the content's relevant. And then a big miss perspective is like a few years ago, we hired a third party to do like digital for us. And at first it started well, but then what happened was, we didn't really keep an eye on it, and they're running, promotions that are now over from like a month ago. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, it worked for a little bit, but then like, I'm paying you for a service and you're not really like on, in the current time, right? In the same ethos really, right? So I think for us, it was just, well, obviously we made it work, and we had our, had it out with them, and, everything's fine. But I think just from there, we got kind of skittish on finding a third party to do this anymore. And I think that was kind of a big headache for us. Was like, it was a learning, but it was also like, we should have just like moved on faster from that. I will say though, over the last year and a half, we've really invested in like SEO stuff, which is great, which is search engine optimization, as an e-commerce company that, we don't have a storefront that you can walk into and purchase from us. I mean, basically SEO is your sign outside on the street, right? So people are going down Barefoot Training Avenue and they're like, oh, look there's Pedestal Footwear, right? So, or they're going down Gripsock Avenue and on the corner is Pedestal. So we'll kind of think of it in that regard of like, SEO being your storefront. And so that's been good. I mean, that's nothing that I do or Brennan does. I'm learning that like, delegate and have people do these things that are, Brennan and I know, but not enough to be dangerous. You know what I mean? So hire people that can like sort of do that, right? I think that's been a good win for us. And from there, just like, again, Brennan and I's real focus is just making sure our customers are happy. And if they're not, we can make them happy in whatever way that is.
So with your current customer base, are you giving them, in the email marketing, are you giving them training tips, giving them educational content, things like that?
Yep. We're sharing workouts. We have like a workout Wednesday, which is just, whether either people tagged us in something or somebody's using our product on like, whatever. And we share that workout with them. And then, maybe like do like a individual, like a movement that maybe somebody hasn't tried, or something about the feet, you know what I mean? Or, some fact about the feet and what you can do, or if you pronate, here's some exercises, if you supinate, or you have high arches, or, then we have like just like a Sunday sweat, which is basically a shared workout of like somebody that wants to, we just share a workout with someone. So it's nothing like too in depth. And I feel like the more sciencey we get, the less of interested people become. You know what I mean? I think, we're not really, I'm not a strength coach. I just get people in the boat to row for us. You know what I mean? People that know it better than I do. I don't need to be out here and say I know everything, because I don't. You know what I mean? I get, the strength coaches that know this to talk about it and say, well, I know we're providing a product that helps people move and feel better. And if it gets in the hands of a great strength coach or mobility coach or a yogi or whatever, and they want to talk about it, I mean, we're going to share that content, right? Why wouldn't we, right? So I think at first we tried to be like very like pigeonholed in that regard of like, just send really sciencey stuff and be like the, whatever. And it's like, people want to like see the personality. I think the race really with branding is like, whoever is more personal is going to win, right? Like, I think that's, you might never, a lot of your customers you never see. You know what I mean? Most of them you never see, right? So how do you see them? I mean, it's either going to be like this or like this, right? There's really no, or like this is with Skype. But I mean, there's no, I think we want to encourage our customers to share and encourage them to like tell us why they love the product or why they don't.
I know, going back to a point we had talked about earlier about training feet, it's kind of interesting because we always hear you need to work out. You need to build muscle, create strength. But then, like you inferred a little earlier, the feet have muscles, right? Mm-hmm. The hands have muscles. The neck has muscles. But it's interesting, like those are 3 areas of the human body that people just don't want to work out. It's like they want to disavow any knowledge of there being any muscles in those regions.
And why? And I want to say, why is that? And I think it's because, I mean, let's be honest, and you tell me, because you know better than I, you take 100 people, okay? And you tell me how many of them care, if you had the 2 options, how many of you care about your ankle mobility to hit an overhead squat versus how many of you care about having a 6-pack on the beach?
Oh, yeah. Overwhelmingly, the
100 of 100, man.
Yeah, 100 of
exactly.
100. Yeah.
And so that's probably the reason why those smaller groups or the more important ones they just get overlooked in regard because people don't care about it until they're in pain, right? People don't care about it until if they're really specialized or if they're in a sport or whatever and people are like, hey, this is a competitive advantage. Let's take your shoes off and let's start the workout barefoot, right? If I see somebody walking around in the gym barefoot, I'm like, okay, that person gets movement. You know what I mean? Like they get it. Not to say that somebody who wears sneakers doesn't, but I'm saying like somebody that has experienced that and knows what that's like, they can at least reason with that person and they don't kind of look at them twice or like look at them funny. Like, what's that person like walking around in socks or like barefoot? It's like, oh, no. They actually know the feet are important to movement. You know what I mean?
So would you say the majority of your customers are probably on the older end of the spectrum or let's say above 30 or so?
Yeah, that's our 25 to 45 is our like home run. And we're usually like split between men and women. So it's like we're not like really high men or really high women or whatever you identify as, right? But we're really split down the middle. But then also like I think there's obviously an older population and a younger population, but not really younger. You know what I mean? Like high school kids, obviously they wear the product, but like, I think it's mostly right after college or college age to just right after college, right? And then all the way up to 40, and like 45 is like the home run. I think like 40 to 45 in there is our customer base. Yeah.
Because I think there's a real sweet spot for especially the over 60 age group, because you had mentioned just slightly about grandparents not sliding on, especially if you have hardwood floors in your home, you get the socks slip. So give them something that's going to have some grip and some traction.
It's funny you say that, Dennis. I really, and you could tell me if you think this is a really awesome idea, but I'm thinking about doing like marketing, speaking of marketing, and having it be videos of older folks, elderly folks, right? Working out and moving because every brand wants to be young and sexy. You know what I mean? Every brand wants to have the girl or the guy that's wearing no clothes and flexing, right? But I think if we go in the opposite direction, we flip it on its head and say, oh, no. Look at this people over 70 absolutely crushing a deadlift or like walking up the stairs or, whatever it is, right? And showing that, I think is sort of like it's kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of cool that they're marketing that way, right? Problem is, where are you gonna put this content, right? So it's like, how many of those people are on social, right? How many of those people are, they might be searching something like grip socks or whatever. So I think it's just placing that. But that being said, it still would be like a pretty cool video of like older folks working out and being badasses because they are, you know what I mean? Like I think there's really, I think old people rule, you know what I mean? I think that's like, it's amazing that they, there's so much to learn from them. And I think that there really is. And I actually heard something the other day, like an ad on like, I don't know if it was Pandora or something. It was like, everybody wants to talk about like the 40 under 40, but this guy came out with some podcasts like the 70 over 70. Yeah. And it's like people that are like over 70 and like crushing it or like living their best year, the golden years. Right. And I think that's, people don't, especially in business too, people don't think long-term. They think like, next tomorrow, a week, a year. They got to get into thinking 10 to 15 to 20 years, right? From now, right? How are you going to move? How are you going to feel?
Yeah. Cause if you think about like, if you go to the hospital, right, they give you these grip socks, but they're pretty shitty, man.
Yeah. They're,
so if you can get these into the hospitals, you can get them into occupational therapists' hands, physical therapists, retirement homes. That's kind of like the way in right there.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think the issue with that is they've already understood in their head, they've comprehended, okay, grip socks, 10 cents.
Yeah.
Get them from China, 10 cents, bang. We'll get them for everybody. We'll bang them out. We'll have them here tomorrow. And it's like, well, we can't really operate like that. You know what I mean? It's like, got to keep the lights on somehow, right? So you want to pay 10 cents, we're not the right fit. And we can't be for everybody. You know what I mean? But to your point, specialized rehab places or like physical therapy places or whatever, where like people are paying premiums or like they're getting great care from somebody, you know, that exactly is another avenue. And that's something we're trying to pursue as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the over 50 population that's the majority of the population, especially here in the Western hemisphere, right? I mean, that's the vast majority of people are over the age of 50.
Yeah. What do you find with you guys as sort of your like ballpark? Like, do you have, you know, what do you think?
Ours is definitely 30 plus.
Oh, 30 plus for sure. Because you can't talk mobility to a 20-year-old. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
I mean, because we know how come on. I mean, would the three of us have listened to anybody about mobility at the age of 20?
No. Yeah.
We've been like, we've been like, screw you, bro. Like, I'm going to go deadlift. Go away. You know?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And what do you think? Why do you think that change happens? Is it because they get to an age where they start to be in pain? Or do you think
you just know they don't move as well.
You just don't move as well. You know,
you want to be athletic still.
Weekend warrior, whatever it is. Yeah.
You know, and then when you start to feel those aches and pains is, you know, you start to seek out options, right? You have that epiphany that something has to change. You know, I've got to start doing something different. So that typically is about that 30-year-old age range where your body starts sending you those messages like, okay, fix something, take care of it, or change something, right?
It's funny, the other day I was just golfing by myself and this kid comes up behind me and he's like, hey, you mind if I play with you? I was like, no problem, man. Come on. I think he's a sophomore in high school, right? Great golfer. So he's like, yeah, I got a tournament tomorrow. I'm playing 36 holes because I guess that's, you know, that's how they do it. They tee off in the morning. Then I go, hey, if you don't mind me asking, this is my old self. I said, don't mind asking, do you find yourself like, are you in any pain? Like after you play like 36 holes, like do you anywhere in your body? Like you find, no, not really. Like maybe like my back, but I'm like, exactly. There's your point. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, sophomore in high school, you know, and it's like, he doesn't know yet that like, you know, what's going to happen, you know, basically I don't know what you would call it, but that your life catches up to you quick, you know?
I mean, you've got to pay the piper sooner or later. I mean, it just very, very, I mean, has any human ever gone 50 years of lifespan and not experienced some issue at some level, right? It's eventually going to happen. And so I think that's one of the reasons why recovery and mobility is starting to finally take some precedence or get some foothold into the training world and into the occupational therapy world as far as, okay, it's important to strengthen, but it's also important to make sure that you're recovering properly.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, like when you look at stick mobility as a whole, what like percentage are you going like wholesale, you know what I mean? Versus like people ordering direct from your website? Are you sort of working with mostly, how does that work basically?
It's probably mostly direct sales.
Direct sales. Yeah. And then, so it's basically if I'm scrolling on Instagram, right, and I see a stick in the background, it's probably a stick mobility certified coach that bought those at that facility, right? For that facility, correct? Or for themselves.
Yeah, with a novel object, with a novel tool, you need to have people that know what they know, be the people that are influencing and pushing. So anything that the general public is going to look at and kind of be like, I don't get it, they get it because they get exposed through people that do know what it is, what the advantages are, what the pros and the cons are. So that's really where any new tool has to be able to develop is through the education.
And now, what levels of education are you at now? Like I know when we first met, you were doing a level 1. I think that was, you know, whatever years ago. I think, but now you have multiple courses, correct?
Yeah, we have a level 2. I think that's probably about where we'll top out. We'll specialize. Well, we'll specialize in other direct protocols more specifically as time goes on. But with something new, we still have a long way to go to get a really good, solid, wide bandwidth, so to speak, just on the basics and fundamentals.
Yes, I mean it's amazing that like the basics they don't go old. You know what I mean? They don't grow old. You know, I mean, just like doing the And is that what you kind of like the struggle you have now is like, if you were to do like a level 3, you know what I mean? It's like, are we disregarding like the importance of level 1, right? Like, or, you know, how do you see that? You know what I mean? Like, or do you think it just becomes redundant after a certain amount of levels, or, you know, how do you
I think so.
see that?
I mean, I think you get to a point where like, okay, you understand how to, you know, progress someone to a certain point, and then now go start using these other tools or whatever, your body weight, and start loading yourself more.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, because that's one thing, you know, you can keep for us, you know what I mean? Obviously, it's not as involved. It's not like you know, as much as we consider ourselves like a tool for barefoot training, it's not, you know, people don't look at it as a tool. They think of it as a piece of apparel or clothing, right? Yeah. So I think in that regard, you know, moving colors and design and all that is not, and, you know, it doesn't really matter to us as much as it would for you guys creating a new certification. It's more like, you know, this has to like, we have to really be differentiated in regard between the 1, 2, and whatever else you go to, right?
Well, I think when I talk to people about pedestal footwear, I'm like, look, it's most for people that don't want to be barefoot, and there are a ton of people, you know, and some gyms are going to be like, no, you're not walking around here barefoot, right? Right. So, you know, for me, it's just, hey, grab these. You're going to get the feedback, you're going to get the proprioception that you're looking for, right? Right. And you're not going to have the manager at the club coming up to you and going, you ain't got nothing on your feet. You know, so so it's just that ability to give the clients and the end users what you know that they need without disrupting the environment that they're in.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, and I don't want to say this, but like, because of COVID, you know what I mean? A lot of people, what do? They work out at home, right? They do virtual. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but my parents taught me when I walk in the door, you take your damn shoes off, right? Like, you don't walk around this house with your shoes on. So we knew that like when people are now working out at home, you know what I mean? They're not going to wear their shoes. Either they're going to be barefoot or they're going to be in our product, right? Or hopefully our product, right? Amazing thing about the industry is just how quickly people flip to this virtual model, which is amazing. You know what I mean? These gym owners, I mean, hats off to them being able to just do what they could to shift and move and make it happen. But I think nothing's ever going to replace that personal one-on-one touch. You know what I mean? Like, it's never, nothing will ever replace that. And some facilities were able to stay open because, you know, they were personal one-on-one. And I think that's where the industry is going. People are probably who have been exposed to that now, like, why am I going to go back to a big box gym where I'm just a number and a monthly, you know, cash rate, you know, a monthly swipe of the card, right? So,
well, I think a lot of people are still tons of people are still going to go back because we're communal and we're a societal creature. So, I think a lot of people have been missing that. I know the gym just down the street from me, you know, now that they're back, the pool is open, everything's back on. They're jamming because people are like, hey, Neil, we haven't seen you in 9 months, bro. Like, holy shit. Like, this is awesome. So I think there's always going to be that. So no matter, I know a lot of people are talking about, the death of clubs, blah, blah, blah. But no, we're a societal creature. So we definitely need to have that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, I think in that regard, though, people are getting that face-to-face interaction with their trainer. Right. With or with other people in a small group setting. Right. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, whereas before you can kind of get lost in the shuffle of just like, okay, you go do your same monotonous routine every day at a gym and then you just pay a monthly fee versus like, hey, I feel like the places that really harness the sense of community and belonging are the ones that like crush it anyway. But like, especially now when like, hey, Marcy's taking this class, I'm going to the class and take the class, like you were saying, but it doesn't have to be like just a pure membership model versus, you know, like a pay for training plus membership, you know?
Well, you know, with Zoom and all that, people can, I think what it's done, it's opened up another avenue to train. So now you can have a hybrid model. You can still have, you know, your normal live training, but then you can also include some hybrid models. So you can expand your business more.
Right. Yeah. And from anywhere. Right. I think it is amazing. And I think, you know, again, it'll be like you said, I think people are going to go gangbusters back to whatever gym they were going to before because they miss it and they want to see the people, like you said. But I also, at the same token, believe that the ones that, because they were able to stay open because they were just like one-on-one training, it's not like 100 people in a gym. You know what I mean? There's like It's me and a coach and a client, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe 2 or 3 people in a gym at a time. But I'm saying they were just able to like really harness that personal touch, you know?
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So, you got anything new stuff in development? Anything in the works? Any type of new upgrades or products?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're actually getting into a product that obviously people can, fitness happens everywhere, and we understand that. It's not just in a gym. People are now working out outside. Obviously not now, but always working out outside or in their garage, or so we're going to create a product here that hopefully can be worn outside, which would be great. And so we've been started developing that over the last, I don't know, 8-9 months. So we're close, and hopefully soon we'll have something for everybody, which would be amazing. I think our customers will really love it, and obviously I'll get you guys some as soon as they come out, of course.
Thank you.
And I think so we're trying to go in that, and then of course also still while still maintaining the American made. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you can do overseas, but I think this is my own personal belief, but there is something to be said about getting on a flight or in the car and seeing somebody face to face within a few hours. You know what I mean? And building that trust, and that's something that I never want to remove from the process. I feel like that's integral part of it, and being able to, whatever we want to talk about, fantasy football or, the Lightning yesterday, whatever it is, there's that sort of fun aspect to it, but, versus like dealing with different, I don't know where you guys are manufactured, but you're dealing with different time zones, you're dealing with different languages, you're dealing with different currencies, you're dealing with delays. It takes 2 seconds to pick up my cell phone and text somebody, hey man, what's going on? And he gets back to me, So I think that was a huge part of it. And we were finally able to figure out how to do that. And I think we really want to like start to get into some more like military type of accounts, since we are like, I'm forgetting I think it's not Prop 65. I'm forgetting the compliance code for just like American made products. I'm completely forgetting, but that's like every police car is like a Ford or a Chevy, right? Because it's American made. So I think we really want to start to try to, get into those accounts somehow, which would be amazing. We have like a couple like internationally, like small settings of that, but I think, it'd be nice I think that's a pretty badass thing to do,
Well, I think it says a little about keeping, we complain a lot about jobs moving out of the country, but being able to, presidents talk about, we're bringing back manufacturing. So I think that's a big part is being loyal to your fellow citizens in regards to keeping manufacturing and making products here. So is the cost associated going to be a little bit higher? Yeah, most likely. But I think a lot of people change that mindset to saying, okay, I'm willing to pay a few cents more if it helps keep some fellow Americans working and running and stimulating the economy. So
in theory, that's like way too easy of a concept. I guess people just, not everybody gets that, but that, you know what I mean? That's such a great concept and way of thinking, you know what I mean? But it's not everybody gets that when you say it's American made, you know what I mean? They hopefully when they see American made, they assume quality and like, maybe there's a little price, but that's baked into the quality,
It's hard for people though to rationalize sometimes. If you give them 2 different price points, most people are going to gravitate to the cheaper price point. But the problem is if the cheaper price point is also more an inferior product, you're going to have to buy that multiple times compared to the more expensive price point, which you're most likely not going to have to purchase as often. So in reality, in the long term, have you really saved more money, or have you actually end up spending more money?
Great point. That's a great point. Right. Yeah. And you don't really think about that, but also too, when people buy the higher price point, there's inherent value, right? Whether or not you actually are more valuable, right? People still assume you're getting a more valuable product. And there is power in that too, because if you're not, well, then you better make sure you are, right? And I think but there is like, people get this product that comes to their house, the unboxing is great. People might not even care what's in the box by the time they actually get unboxed. If they can have that crazy of an experience of a handwritten thank you note, nice wrapping, a nice box. By the time they even get to the stick or the sock, they're like, they've got me. You know what I mean? Like it's worth the difference in price point, right? So I think Brendan, actually, good friend, is Johnny Cupcakes, which I don't know if you know Johnny Earl's name. He owns Johnny Cupcakes, like a t-shirt brand here in Boston. It's very popular company, but they do like all these cool launches and cool, they work with Marvel or they work with whatever. And his like home run is like just getting the customer to be absolutely batshit surprised when the thing comes to their house. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to be in this package? Is it, you know what I mean? How is it packaged? How is it, what else is in there? Is there little treats or little like trinkets or little, and people like really love just purchasing for the fact of like, what's going to come in the package besides what I actually ordered. Right. So it's like keeping the customer like, just a smile on their face when they get the product.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I saw you got. Are you going to the Barefoot Training Summit again? I think you shared something.
Yeah, we'll do our workout. Dr. M always likes to have us there just for a 1 hour workout, just get everybody moving and grooving.
Because that's where we originally met.
That's where we first met.
Back in New York.
She's been a huge supporter of us. So we always reciprocate. So, it's like, everything's just about establishing relationships and helping each other out. And that's what we got to do to just keep everybody growing at this, keep everybody keeping up.
I feel like everywhere I look at, I now have I'm sure you too, obviously. I got my eyes peeled and I see, look at that orange stick in the corner over there. Like I see it everywhere, man. So congrats. It looks
Thank you.
Even if it's in the background, that's all we care about. As long as it's in the background, dude.
There's a reason why it's orange too,
As long as it's in the background, we don't even care if anybody's not using it. As long as it's there.
No, people are using it too. All right.
But the more people keep seeing photos and it's everywhere, it just keeps sinking in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think or like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what
curiosity factor? What is that? Why is that there? The English national team using it the other day was freaking. That was awesome. Oh my God, that's awesome.
What do they say? I think it's like the average amount of time somebody has to see a brand before they know it. I think it's something like 6. Don't quote me on that, but I think
really
something like that. So they might see the stick once and they see if by the time they get to 6, they're finally like, oh yeah, those are the stick mobility. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's not, you know what I mean? That's why I think the problem is a lot of people get with like Instagram is they want to pay somebody to like post this picture with their product once. And it's like, okay, you do it once, it's never going to be seen again. And you need to have a long-term, and this is what I think you guys do a good job of, and we try to do is like, you need to have a long-term plan with somebody if you're going to work with them. Not like, okay, post once and then never see you again, right? It's like, is this authentic? Do you really enjoy the product? Do you really enjoy using this? Great, because then we'll send you more stuff, or because we're happy that you love it, right? As opposed to like, let's just monetarily compensate you to just post once. It just doesn't. It's not organic. It doesn't seem like natural.
That's exactly our strategy, man. We don't do that because. Those people that they'll DM you, right? They're like, hey, send us some sticks and we'll post for you, and then also pay us this much.
Yeah. I was on a call the other day and somebody asked, so what do you do for like, I saw you're in this magazine and that magazine. What do you do? I was like, honestly, like, and you guys are, I'm sure we're in the same boat in this regard. Is we don't do like, we're not adamantly out there trying to get people to feature us. Like, if you love our product and like it, then we like you and love you. You know what I mean? It's not like, it just, and I think a lot of people, this is what we've been featured in and whatever, but you can tell when it's like organic versus like just paid media,
Yeah, because when you see those top 10 lists and things like that, you're kind of always wondering, did you pay to get on the list? Was it really, like you said, grassroots? Was it really the authentic thing? Depending on the influencer or whatever, to send him or her products is not a big issue because, I mean, think about what you would have to pay if you were paying cash versus just sending them products and t-shirts and all this other stuff. And I mean, you're spending a fraction of the cost, right? So, and once you get the sticks or the socks into people's feet or hands, they're like, oh, I like it. And that's all you need to hear. As soon as they say, I like it, you're like, so how can people get a hold of you or follow you on social media?
Yeah. So obviously Pedestal Footwear is the name, and pedestal meaning people ask about the name. So Pedestal Footwear, and the root word is ped, which means feet, right?
Yep.
And then pedestal, which is something sturdy and strong that you stand on, which symbolizes your feet, right? So just like spelling, pedestalfootwear.com. And then my name is Mike, and you can just email me at mike@pedestalfootwear.com. And then also follow us on social. Everything is just at Pedestal Footwear.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mike, for coming on. Yeah. We appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Some great information in there. We look forward to chatting with you down the road, and then hopefully run into you sooner or later in person.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to get something on the calendar.
So something on the calendar, huh?
Next time you come back East Coast or whatever, you just let me know. I'll make it happen. I'll find you where I can find you. And obviously, thank you both for having me on. And obviously, I'll keep you in the loop on everything else that's going on here. And again, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us,
Ditch your shoes. Ditch your shoes.
Right, exactly. And to all the listeners out there, until next episode, be good to each other.